in a discussion on the internet. And Yanis Bitsakis in Athens found the phrase, "the colour is black," in the eclipse inscriptions. Alexander Jones in Toronto found this really exciting, and he then discovered the phrase, "the colour is fire red."
We were discovering a very sophisticated machine that not only was predicting eclipses decades in advance and what time of the day or night they were happening, but even the direction the shadow was going to cross and what color the eclipsed sun or moon was going to be. We're watching a total eclipse of the moon in Athens. For the ancient astronomers, eclipses had a special significance. But for most Greeks, eclipses could have a much more dire and ominous significance.
In 413 BC, a lunar eclipse led to a fatal maritime disaster for the Athenian fleet at Syracuse. Athens was engaged in a long war with Corinth and its colony Syracuse in Sicily. More than 130 Athenian triremes and 130 transport ships were blockading the harbour at Syracuse. And on the night of the 27th of August, 413 BC, there was a total lunar eclipse. Nicias, the superstitious Athenian admiral of the fleet, consulted a soothsayer on board, who said the red eclipse of the moon was a bad omen. The fleet should not put to sea for thrice times 9 days. In the ensuing battle, Nicias lost half his ships from arrows fired from the shore. The computer predicted eclipses through the Saros dial on the lower back of the mechanism. It was dependent upon gear wheels following the repeating cycles of the moon. But there was a new puzzle. The team knew that the moon moves round the Earth in an elliptical motion. That means it moves fastest when it's closest to Earth and slower when it's furthest away. How could the mechanism's designer possibly make gears that tracked this fluctuating path of the moon?
Michael Wright made an absolutely brilliant observation from his X-rays. He discovered that one of the gears at the back of the mechanism, mounted on this large 223-tooth gear, had a pin on it.
This is the pin and slot mechanism. There's a wheel in the back of the instrument. You can see with the naked eye that it's got some sort of a slot in it. The next thing you see is this round ghost in the slot. There is a pin.
Now you might think, well, they'll just turn together and that's a completely useless device. But he made this other very critical discovery. He discovered that the gear with the pin turns on a slightly different axis than the gear with the slot. So this mechanical device induces a variability in the motion of one of the gears.
And amazingly, the pin and slot device built into the mechanism plotted the variable motion of the moon.
So you get a variable motion, which I can show you best in the model. When the wheels are like this, and the pin is at the inside of the slot, the driven wheel on top is going fast. When we come round here, and the pin has moved to the outside of the slot, the driven wheel is going slow. And this is modelling the way that the moon's speed in the sky actually varies.
But when Wright originally found the pin and slot device, he failed to understand what it was for.
And he threw the idea away. It's a tragedy for him in a way that he had this absolutely the most brilliant observation in the history of the mechanism.
I didn't know what it was doing there. I even came to wonder whether it was a sort of mechanical fossil.
But there was yet another lunar complication the machine had to deal with.
The ancient astronomers were fascinated with the motions of the moon, and nothing is easy about the motion of the moon. It's very, very complicated stuff. In modern terms, we know the moon goes round in an elliptical orbit, but that ellipse isn't stationary. It rotates very slowly in a period of about 9 years. Based on cycles I knew were part of the mechanism, the Metonic and Saros cycles, I deduced the ancient Greeks had calculated this annual rate of rotation to be 0.112579655 to 9 places of decimals. I thought, well, surely the mechanism can't calculate to this degree of precision. That would be virtually impossible. I puzzled over how the designer could have possibly built gears to track the rotation of the moon's ellipse once every 9 years. In my model, I'd driven the large 223 gear that helped track the moon's movements with a 27-tooth gear. I changed Wright's 53-tooth gear to 54 teeth, exactly double the 27 of my input gear. Then I had my own eureka moment. I was on the plane to Athens. I was playing around with the figures. I knew the input gear had 27 teeth, so I put that into my calculator and calculated the result. And to my deep disappointment, it was too big. So I thought maybe it's only 26 teeth. So I put that into the calculator, and it was too small.